But I like the fact that that people having seen the film are sort of re-looking at weather and just being a little bit more conscious of it because it's not just small talk because that's what we sort of even really talking about a film that's about the weather. You think, okay, well, is that going to be really dry?
Yeah.
Actually, I think what's surprising and delightful for people is that they go, "Oh God, I didn't really understand." That's how they do it. They have
Yeah.
to like call people and go, "What is the reading there?" And that's what they would have to do in 1945 and write it down and then put it
Yeah.
on maps. And then, like now we just look it up on a weather app and it seems very simple. So
So sometimes I do a chat with someone that, it's a kind of unexpected. Like I don't know where it's going to come from, but it's someone that I've wanted to speak with for a long time and they keep doing great projects and I keep wanting to chat with them, but the timing never really works out or it's a scheduling thing or whatever it is. And my chat today with Andrew Scott is one of those chats. I have been trying to chat with Andrew for so long and the timing just doesn't work and that's just how this business works, but it's happening today. Yes, I am chatting with Andrew Scott. We are chatting about his new film, Pressure. Now, Pressure is interesting because it's not the type of film that I would traditionally navigate towards. I love history, but it's about the meteorologist, James Stagg, who basically had to convince then General Dwight D. Eisenhower to move the planned date of D-Day during World War II another day because of the weather. Now, when I heard the premise for this film, I was like, that sounds interesting, but also very British. And because I feel like people in the UK just love talking about weather because they have such complicated weather. And so Andrew is a perfect person to play that because he's Irish and he understands the conversations around weather really, really well. But when I watched the film, I was blown away by how much weather is a part of history and can change history. I mean, so much could have been different if they hadn't changed those dates. And it's really interesting to think about that. And in watching the film, one of the other things that I thought was really fascinating about it is that Andrew isn't doing, it's not your typical yeah, your typical sort of like hero film of this person did this heroic thing and then impacted the world. Yes, they did something that did have a huge impact in history, but James is a meteorologist, is a British meteorologist who is sort of stodgy and not necessarily immediately likable. And there's a lot of pressure on him to do a lot of things, and he has a lot of other things going on. And Andrew plays it in such a perfect way. I was really surprised by just how good the film is. Brendan Fraser plays General Dwight D. Eisenhower, and the cast is just fantastic. The film was I don't wanna say surprisingly good because obviously it's good with that cast, but it is genuinely good and worth your time, and so is this chat that I had today with Andrew. He and I have a lot of fun back and forth. It's really loose, it's really casual, we joke a little bit about the weather, we joke a little bit about the demographic that's gonna go see this film because it's gonna be, I think, a lot of dads and the history buff dads, who take their kids to I don't know, Civil War battlefields and stuff. My dad did those things when I was a kid. But we also chatted a lot about Andrew's career right now and how he is doing some truly great. He's in a moment where he's just doing great work. And I told him I'm very angry that he doesn't have an Academy Award nomination yet. I think he should have gotten one for All of Us Strangers. He's done some incredible work over the years, and he's going to continue to do more incredible work. He has so many things going on. And so we chatted about that. And we also chatted about his surprising appearance on The Comeback this season and how it wasn't necessarily him being cast. He wanted to be cast. He pursued that role. And that's what makes Andrew so fascinating is he's this actor who could be doing these big great films like he's doing with Pressure, and he is doing those films, but he's also doing smaller interesting roles on like The Comeback, that he's not one of the main characters, but he's a really pivotal character. And so we chatted about that as well. This chat is fantastic. You're really going to enjoy it. So sit back and grab a snack because I will be right back with Andrew Scott. It's nice to meet you.
nice to meet you too. How you doing?
I'm doing very well now that I'm
Good.
talking with you. It's fantastic, I should say. I've been a big fan for a while, so
Well,
it's
you've got great taste.
oh, well, thank you. I try. Well, I have to say first off, the film's fantastic.
Thank
It
you.
is I went into it knowing nothing. Like, knowing nothing about this bit of history, knowing nothing about I mean, I knew of course, I know who Eisenhower is, but, like,
Yeah,
I didn't know the details of this, and I was kind of blown away by
yeah.
everything. Did you have a similar
Absolutely
experience?
the same thing. Just had no idea. I never really thought about the weather in relation to D-Day,
Yeah,
or the weather in relation to any movie, actually. It's kind of it's funny talking about the weather in a movie because people are like, "Okay, that's
yeah. Think about how different Titanic would have been if it was a sunny day.
well, exactly right. Exactly right. Exactly. Thank you. That is a very, very astute point. Or anything,
Yeah,
any situation. The weather affects any situation. Everybody's like, "What's it going to be like on my big day, my wedding day? What's it going to be like? What am I? Where am I going to have my lunch? What am
yeah,
I going to wear? What am I going to spend my summer doing? Where do I live? You know,
yes.
how do we live our lives? It's completely dependent on the weather. So of course, an invasion like D-Day is the weather is going to there's going to have to be experts that are going to help in being able to strategize about what might be the safest and most effective way for hundreds of thousands of people to
Yeah,
to stage an invasion. Yeah.
yeah. So how I mean, how familiar were you with the material, with the because I know it was a play originally, and, like, did you have any experience with the background in this?
No, no, not at all. I didn't. The screenplay just came to me completely fresh, and I love the idea that there is, of course, a lot of scenes that are pretty dialogue heavy, but what I think is really special when I spoke to Anthony first was the way that they have this incredible footage from World War II, which has been remastered. So there's actual footage of the real soldiers that has been remastered, and the way that's been expertly sort of woven into footage that we shot, to me is sort of really extraordinary. So it's really big in scale and really, really minute in scale as well.
Yeah, there is something about I mean, the story is just so big and the history is so big, but yet there's a way that you I mean, all of the actors, I mean, Brendan, for Carrie, you I mean,
Yeah.
you have a way of making it feel intimate in
Yeah,
a
yeah.
way,
Yeah,
which
well, it has to be there has to be, you have to understand the human beings at the center. In fact, if you don't understand that the human beings had to make these decisions, to represent and to decipher what the future of the world might be. Those decisions landed with human beings, and they're like, "What is the right thing to do?" And what I find very moving about these people is that they had a huge degree of humility about them. That they were like Eisenhower had to make the decision or the final decision about when D-Day was going to happen. That decision was going to land with him, but he did have an enormous amount of respect for Stagg and had to bow down to his expertise but at the beginning, uh, James Stagg was not a war person at all, not a war hero. He's a meteorologist,
Mhm.
and that's what his passion and that's what his expertise was. And what I loved about him, not just as a real person, but as a cinematic character, was that I didn't want him to be interested in being liked. I liked the idea that he was pretty formidable and pretty sassy and
Mhm.
not concerned with getting people to be on his side, but just to listen to what he had to say.
I mean, there's that moment in the film between, him and Eisenhower where Eisenhower is once like a factual, like, "Will this happen?"
Yes.
And the scientist in him is like, "Well, I don't know."
Yeah,
Like,
I
I'm
can't tell you that. I can't tell you that.
yeah,
We predict weather. We can't, no matter how powerful we are, we can't say, "Oh, on Thursday, this is definitely going to happen," right?
yeah.
It's not the way nature works. And so there has to be a degree of humility and if you're going to understand, the science behind it, there just has to be. And it's foolhardy and unheroic actually to say anything contrary.
Yeah, and then I mean and then to think about it, I mean, obviously, in hindsight, I'm sure he wasn't thinking about it in the moment, but, like, the ramifications of whatever you say in that moment
Absolutely. The
could
stakes couldn't be
change
higher.
history.
Yes, absolutely. The stakes really couldn't have been higher. And this isn't somebody who had any war experience. This is just like, okay, well, what do I do? But what I loved about it and why I think the film the title of the film is so apt is that there, of course, as we talk about the meteorological pressure, the wind pressure and the barometric pressure, but also there's an extraordinary psychological pressure that he was going through. And so, as a cinematic character, because pressure is by its nature about containment, I
Yeah.
felt like the character should be very contained as much as possible for as long as possible. And even though the pressure was building on top of him, not just the professional pressure, but there's also another storyline about his pregnant wife and how he can't get access to her, and how you have to park certain things in order to do your job, and blah 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 blah, and how that builds and builds and builds. And that's what makes a true hero is to be able to, when the stakes are really high and at the right time, to keep calm and carry on, as they say.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that was something that I was thinking about watching your performance is that like yeah, sure, there is the real person and you try to like be as sort of true to that person that he actually was. But
Mm.
like how do you find where's the separation between that person and the character you have to build in order to make it an entertaining film to watch?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my responsibility is to deliver the film character. You can't as much as you want. Of course, you have to have a sense of the impression of who the real man was, but this is a real man in this particular story. And So I love the idea of a cinematic character who we start out with a certain degree of distance from, perhaps, that he's not, I don't necessarily think all the best cinematic characters are ones that are sort of accessible, to use that word, the
Yeah.
word of the moment. I actually think audiences like people who aren't um immediately decipherable.
Yeah.
And Yeah, and so as the story progresses, we think, oh God, I like him. I like that he doesn't care what people thinks about him. I
Mhm.
like that he's not intimidated by these incredibly powerful people. And I'm really going to listen to what he has to say. And that's what I love, is the difference between a good person and a nice person. So
Yeah.
I think that makes for a good filmic character.
Well, and I mean, the casting and just in general, the way it sort of unfolds is perfect because in a weird way, it's like we, myself at least as an American, we go in knowing Eisenhower is basically a hero. Like you
Yes.
just know, I mean, we have that reputation with him, and to have Brendan Fraser, the guy who fights mummies and is everyone's hero, like he is like he's obviously a hero. But
Yes.
with you, it's like that hero is earned. It's a
Yeah,
complicated
yeah,
hero,
yeah,
you know?
exactly, exactly. He's less familiar, less charming, less everything, and so that's why I wanted people to sort of listen to what he had to say rather than necessarily a charming way in which he says it.
Do you I mean, is there ever like a world in which I mean, I love that every character you play is just so wildly different, but I also don't think I could ever see I don't think I kind of like that you wouldn't want to play like the hero type, the
Yeah,
typical hero type.
yeah.
So do you get sort of a pleasure in sort of the complicated nature of this
I do.
character?
I, th
Yeah.
I do. I do. I think if you're playing a hero, which James Stagg is, I think you don't. That's done. That's your job is already done for you. So the kind of dark side of the thing is the thing that I think you need to work on. And uh, conversely, if you're playing a villain, the villainous is sort of done for you already. So it's the other side that you need to sort of work on. And it's like, the great thing about Hamlet is Hamlet is, if you're playing that character, you have to, he's like the moody, dark prince, but you have to try and find the light. Or if you're playing a comedy, it's like trying to find the soul, or, trying to find the lightness. And actually in this film, there's a huge amount. It was very important to me actually that the funny parts, that it was funny, it's witty in there. Witty is probably a better word for it. That
Yeah.
you understand the kind of absurdity with these two culture clashes, these characters. Colonel Crick is the American meteorologist, sort of brilliantly played by Chris Messina, who's a real showman who literally who's like the meteorologist to the stars.
Yeah.
And that is just not the way James Stagg rolls. And I think, that's, of course, in all the halls of power across the world, personality politics are always sort of at play.
Yeah, but there's also, and I mean this in the most respectful way to the history of this person, but like as an American, why am I not surprised that a British person is like obsessed with the weather? Like, I mean, you know what I mean? Like
Well,
every time I'm in England, it's like you guys get excited by like, oh, it's not such a gray day. You know,
Well, it's true. It's so true. And that's one of the things in the movie is that to predict weather in Palm Springs,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
it's not as big of a challenge as it is
yeah.
to predict weather in the Lake District because it's we get 4 seasons in one day, and it's that's embedded in the culture. That's embedded
Mhm.
in like, oh my God, in spring in Ireland when the weather comes out, we're like, woo! It sounds everybody crazy. And so, it's like what you get used to. We live with the weather so much, we
Mhm.
really, really do. And I like the fact that people having seen the film are sort of re-looking at weather and just being a little bit more conscious of it because it's not just small talk, because that's what we sort of even really talking about a film that's about the weather, you think, okay, well, is that going to be really dry?
Yeah,
Actually, I think what's surprising and delightful for people is that they go, "Oh God, I didn't really understand. That's how they do it. Wow, they
yeah.
have to like call people and go, what is the reading there?" And that's what they would have to do in 1945, write it down and then put it
Yeah.
on maps. And then, like now we just look it up on a weather app and it seems very simple. So yeah, for
It's
all the weather geeks, it's the movie of the year.
oh, they're out there. They're out there. I
Oh,
mean,
they really are.
they are
They really are.
out
That
there.
yeah, people
Yes.
love the weather.
It's kind of crazy. I remember when I first moved to Los Angeles, speaking to that point, I would go to this coffee place in the morning, and in line, everyone would talk about how nice of a day it is. And
Yeah,
the New Yorker in me, kept being like, is this Stockholm syndrome? Every day is the same.
yeah,
Why are you
exactly.
talking about this same thing every
Exactly.
day?
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Exactly. How's it different than yesterday?
It's never, but they love the weather. They love talking about the weather. It's a kink.
Yeah.
I don't get
Yeah.
it. There is though one of the things that I think is what this film is going to do for you at least is, I've seen a lot of your work, and like I said, a lot of it is different, but this one has a very specific audience, particularly among Americans. It's a very specific audience, and it feels like this is almost an introduction to a lot of dads out there for you. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of dads.
Not for the first time. No, I'm joking.
True, true, true. I mean, well, I get that part too. But like there is like an introduction to a lot of people who really aren't going to know your work, and they're going to be
Yeah.
discovering a lot of your work through this film, through the history of this film. So like
Yeah.
how does it feel for you? I know that isn't maybe necessarily important to you to grow these audiences in this way, but like how important is it for you to sort of widen your reach in terms of the people you appeal to?
If I'm honest, it's not that important to me, really. I feel like it's the I feel like if you do work in good faith, it might reach a bigger audience. But having said that, if it doesn't reach a bigger audience, the audience that might love a film like All of Us Strangers or come and see me in a play, where you know in the whole run, 10,000 people might go to see, as opposed to in at the opening weekend of a more commercial movie where that's just like not a significant number at all. So it's a very strange thing to sort of, I don't know, a very strange barometer for what success might be, to my mind.
Yeah.
Um, so I don't know what's interesting to me, I suppose, is not necessarily the commerciality or the numbers of people who go see the film, but just the tone of the movie itself. I'm not interested in doing arts movies just for art's sake. I love a pop art movie of like a, a commercial movie is potentially of similar value to me as an artsy film. That doesn't really bother me as long as there's something that I feel like I maybe haven't explored before, or just something that's going to be well executed, or the people that you're working with, or whatever. So it's not something that I think it might be cynical to, or at least it just hasn't been my experience, or hasn't been my methodology ever to go, okay, well, let's do something where everybody's going to, it's going to increase my visibility or whatever.
Well, and I mean, this gets me to another question that I think is, I mean, it's really not even a question you can necessarily answer, but it, you're one of those actors that I get very angry that you don't have an Oscar nomination. And over recent years, you've had great work in, for example, All of Us Strangers. I mean, that was the one that really pissed me off. You didn't get nominated about. But there are other, I mean, you've had so much great work over the years that, like, you're clearly in a moment, and this film is indicative of that, of the caliber of work that you're receiving, Ripley, et
Yeah.
cetera, is is just growing and growing and growing. And so how does it feel in this moment in your career to be getting the Oscar caliber work that this homosexual gets angry you're not nominated for?
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. A very righteous homosexual, as I
Yes.
say, as I
Yes.
started by saying, with an extraordinarily good taste.
Yes. Yes.
It feel that's a kind of different question, isn't it? Is where you think, wow, like I love this. I love the people that you get to work with, and I do feel like I've been um, judicious in some ways about that, and about looking at going after stuff that I feel is of that I haven't necessarily done before, or I've always been a real nerd about writing, about writing, and I think that's, the writer is the actor's great ally, and so I've always kind of gone where that's gone, and where that is, and so yeah, to be able to work with the filmmakers that I've been able to work with of late has been, completely thrilling. I've just done a beautiful movie with Emily Blunt that's based on a Claire Keegan novel, and I've just produced the first film called Elsinore about the life of a part of the life of Ian Charleson, a great Scottish actor, and all that stuff. I'm about to work with Justine Triet and those kind of things. I think, wow, this is really amazing. So there's no doubt in my mind, I'm incredibly, grateful and thrilled about that.
Yeah, for sure. And this one, I mean, this pressure is only going to be added to that list
Yes,
of
exactly, exactly.
I mean, maybe even some of those dads out there are going to be pissed if you don't get nominated for this
Maybe
movie.
some
So
of them,
like,
maybe there'll be some angry dads.
yeah, which not no. There is my speaking in that realm. The last question I have for you, which I can't spend any time with you and not ask this. So the comeback just ended, and you were a part
Yes.
of the final season. And
Yeah.
I did a full feature with Lisa, and over the years I've covered them, and I've just been obsessed with that show over the years.
Yeah.
And I love how much. And when I spoke with Lisa, the way in which she praised you and how much she just wanted to stand in your presence and watch you and be with you and have you in the season. It was like she was a fangirl
Oh,
of you.
wow.
So
Well,
how did it feel to be a part of such a moment in pop culture history that so many niche fans of us are obsessing over, and that the star of it is as obsessed with you?
oh, I mean, it's completely thrilling. And a little bit like you, I'm such the reason I think it sort of came about in some ways is because I'm such a big fan of the show, and I heard that they were doing it again, and I called my agent. I was like, "Do you think there might be anything in it?" And then I found out that Lisa and Patrick were fans, and they sort of kind of came up with
Yeah.
this kind of scenario, and then we're going back and forth, and so just to be on that set, I was just like, just to see her in the, you know, as Valerie, I kept saying I had to sort of rearrange my face because I'm just
Yeah.
such a beautiful, heartbreaking, hysterically wonderful character. And like, it's kind of like what you were talking about. It doesn't matter to me. Sometimes I think you go, okay, well, you get to a certain position in your career, and you have to go then, well, I'm going to play big leads and big movies and blah blah blah. But that to me is not the thing that is going to be delightful. What's so delightful to me is that you get to play a part. And I always say to young screenwriters, like, if you want to get good actor, just write great, great, great scenes. In fact, sometimes writing three great scenes is you're going to get an actor who's interested in acting rather than a so-called star to come and go, yeah, I'll do that, because then you get to act with Lisa Kudrow. Like, I mean, you get to go and do something like that, and that to me is so completely wonderful. And I mean, my God, isn't she
God,
insanely brilliant
just
in this
I
season?
I can't. If she doesn't get the Emmy, I'm gonna be I like it's you. I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna be depressed. I'm
You're
just
just going to
talking
be
about
more angry, just
more angry,
further anger.
angry homosexuals out there. Andrew, thank you so much for taking
Lovely
the time to
talking to
chat with
you,
me. It was a real pleasure, real
and
honor.
stay angry.
I will. I will. Trust me. I'm a Jew. I'm gonna be angry all the time.
For the rest of my life.
Good.
Lots of love.
Take care. Bye bye. Andrew is he's just, I mean, did you catch some of those? We were having a lot of innuendo jokes. There was a lot of that happening with Andrew, and it was kind of delicious. And I think he likes me. Thanks so much for checking out today's episode of the podcast. I really do appreciate that. Leave a rating and review wherever you're listening or watching this. I'm H. Alan Scott on everything. And in the meantime, watch something fun today and have a good one.